I saw a piece in the New York Times. It was online. I don't know if it's in the print edition. Michelle Cottle is the writer. She's a member of the New York Times editorial board. And she is doing a parody of a high school yearbook. Only this is the 2020 high school yearbook of Donald J. Trump. And if you remember back in the day, I looked at Molly's yearbooks during her first 2 years of high school. She's in her third. And I don't see this anymore. You know, the best looking, the best dancer, most likely to succeed, most likely to wind up a politician, most likely to be a photographer. You remember they used to caption the senior photos. I don't know if they still do that. Like I said, they haven't done it at Molly's high school for a couple of years. But back in the day, that's what we did, right? So Michelle Cottle took that as a template. The year's best, worst, and weirdest political players here in the Orange Bastards 2020 high school yearbook. And Michelle writes that, she makes it very plain at the beginning, that this year was a soul-crushing hellscape, a dumpster fire. And as she points out, for sanity's sake, and I certainly agree with this, large chunks of 2020 should be repressed as soon as we're able to do that. The rolling crises that we've been through in 2020, thanks in large part, almost exclusively to this orange bastard who has destroyed, to a certain degree, even though it's going to survive him and his filthy family, destroyed to a certain degree the whole idea of representative government, democratic republic, Constitution of the United States, all those ideas, because that's what the orange bastard does. He's a slime ball, and he destroys things. He does not create things. He destroys them. Some of the players on the political stage this past year rose to meet the moment, as Michelle puts it. Others sank, and there was no bottom. Isn't that the truth? And she says that this sorting of the players should be remembered, especially because many of these so-called public eminences began scurrying to rehabilitate their brands. Oh, aren't they writing about doing it now? Their 2020 achievements, such as they were, should be memorialized with superlatives that capture who they revealed themselves to be. Think high school yearbook distinctions, only with real-world implications, which is what Michelle is doing here. Now, don't look for the orange bastard on this list. In a class by himself, he was deemed ineligible for consideration. The competition would have been grossly unfair with such a dominant force. She says, she writes with tongue-in-cheek, a dominant force for evil, filth, lies, deception, amorality, lack of any kind of sense of ethics. What an example this pig has been. What a hideous example. But let's go to Michelle Cottle's list. She starts with the most committed bootlicker. That would be Senator Lindsey Graham. She writes, this was a hotly contested category, but at the end of the day, no one could outdo the South Carolina Republican. Indeed. Most inauthentic. That would be my own Senator Kelly Loeffler. Talk about a total makeover. This Georgia Republican, appointed to her seat last December, morphed from posh, moderate, mainstream, suburban mom bait to bomb-throwing, ball cap wearing, right-wing culture warrior faster than you can say political opportunism. I would add some things to that, but I don't want to tamper with Michelle's writing. The class clown. Can you guess that one? Rudy Giuliani. Michelle writes, the early Trump years had already shifted Rudy's identity from America's mayor to the president's unhinged apparatchik. But 2020 was when he totally lost the thread, devolving into numerous cautionary tales and internet memes. There was his runny hair dye, or was it mascara? The time he tucked in his shirt for Barack's daughter. The Four Seasons Total Landscaping News Conference held near a porn shop and a crematory. The fart. Go ahead, Google it. The fart. 2021 can't come soon enough. Next, the dreamiest. Well, of course, it's Dr. Fauci. Michelle writes, back in January, who could have predicted that one of the year's biggest heartthrobs would be an 80-year-old government immunologist? Indeed. The angstiest, Senator Susan Collins. Whatever the occasion, the Maine Republican can be counted on to express her deep yet meaningless concern. Oh my God, how many times did we see that? The cutest couple. I'm sorry, it just reminds me of my 4 high school yearbooks, the cutest couple. I never made that. It was usually one of the white boys on the football team and one of the white cheerleaders or drum majorettes, right? Baton twirlers, whatever the hell they were called. Cutest couple. Well, this year, it is, drum roll please, Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin. Michelle writes, the House Speaker and the Treasury Secretary spent so much time and energy hammering out COVID relief deals. Most marriages don't require that much work. The most disappointing, that would be Representative Elise Stefanik. Michelle writes, since her 2014 election, the New York Republican had pitched herself as the sane, moderate future of her party, with a special focus on improving its reputation with women. So it's been particularly galling to watch her carry water for the most anti-democratic, misogynistic president in memory. Yeah. Most disappointed. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Senator Elizabeth Warren. After so much promise and so many plans, the Massachusetts Democrat didn't win even the progressive wing of her party, which went for Uncle Bernie. The largest invertebrate. Basically, the entire Senate Republican conference. Oh, Michelle, you hit that one right in the center of the bullseye. What a bunch of cowardly bastards. Most likely to sell his soul for more power. That would be Mitch McConnell. She's kidding, of course. This bastard made that transaction ages ago. The biggest tease. John Bolton, former National Security Advisor, all that bragging about insider secrets just to hawk a book? He should have testified in the House's impeachment inquiry. Indeed, he should have, Michelle. Most likely to succeed, Pete Buttigieg. Michelle writes, if anyone can make Infrastructure Week really happen, it will be President-elect Joe Biden's overachieving wonk chic pick to head the Transportation Department. Pete Buttigieg. Okay. Most likely, I'm sorry. I just said I don't find anything funny. Most likely to stage a failed coup attempt, that would be Representative Louis Gohmert. Louis Gohmert. Oh, this guy, I don't know what he reminds me of. Some kind of a caterpillar or something that crawls out of a discarded tomato soup can. I don't know. Louis Gohmert. suing Vice President Mike Pence in a convoluted last-ditch effort to overturn the election result and keep Mr. Trump in office? That's some next-level sycophancy. Louis Gohmert. The best napper, that would be, of course, Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross. I mean, what do you know about Wilbur Ross? What do you know about the head of Health and Human Services? What do you know about the Energy Department? How about you understand what I'm saying? Wilbur Ross, he's that guy who looked like he was taken out of a coffin to be marched around in Trump cabinet meetings just to fill a chair. Jesus Christ, that guy scares me. Wilbur Ross. He belongs on Walking Dead for sure. Most likely to end up on Dancing with the Stars. Well, that would be Kimberly Guilfoyle. However, what she does on Dancing with the Stars might not be suitable for children. I'll just leave it here at Michelle Cottle's words. Most clutch player. That would be Representative Jim Clyburn. Michelle writes, it is barely an exaggeration to say that Mr. Biden owes his presidency to the well-timed endorsement from the Dean of South Carolina Democratic Politics. Absolutely. Most likely to be the next Tiger King. Representative Matt Gaetz. That creepy little bastard from Florida, right? With or without his gas mask, this Trump wannabe is the ultimate Florida man. Most persistent. Well, that would be Joe Biden. It took a once-in-a-century pandemic and the most appalling incumbent in history, but Biden finally won the office he's been eyeing for more than 30 years. Most obviously auditioning to be a Fox News host. That one, Michelle writes, is a toss-up. It could be Kayleigh McEnany, the White House press secretary, has the edge when it comes to execution. But Jenna Ellis, one of Trump's lawyers, gets points for trying so hard. Most likely to be a character on Succession. Well, that would be Steve Mnuchin. Most corrupt. Michelle writes, this is a 20 to 30 way tie. With this administration, the category was impossible to whittle down. Best team player, Senator Bernie Sanders. The Vermont lefty, Michelle writes, may be shouty and crabby, but he recognized that unifying Democratic voters swiftly and with minimal squabbling was key to saving the nation from a second Trump term. Most degraded, Mike Pence. It was bad enough when he was on track to be remembered for his dead-on imitation of flypaper. But now, after 4 years of thankless obsequiousness, he's being dragged into Trump world's crackpot crusades to overturn the election results. The Constitution tasks the vice president with presiding over Congress's counting of the Electoral College votes. Maggot types are pressuring him to hand Mr. Trump the win. The vice president is looking at a rough January. Biggest threat to American democracy, Attorney General Bill Barr. This is what happens, Michelle writes, when the nation's top law enforcement official puts his boss's individual interests above the rule of law. And finally, in for the rudest awakening, Javanka. You know, Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. They've had loads of fun playing at government and diplomacy while shielded from any real accountability. Post-presidency, their lives will likely get more complicated socially, politically, and maybe even legally. Yeah, I'd like to see these two perp walked out of their luxury townhome or apartment or wherever the hell they squat after defiling the White House. What a couple. That is thanks to Michelle Cottle, a member of the editorial board of the New York Times. Her 2020 high school yearbook of The Orange Bastard. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.